There is something we need to remember each year when we celebrate the feast of Christ the King, and it's this: Jesus didn't want to be the king. You just heard in the gospel how he handled Pilate's question about his kingship. He handled it by not answering Pilate's question about his kingship. He avoided it. Elsewhere in the gospel, when a crowd came to make Jesus their king, he slipped away to a deserted place by himself to pray. He would not accept, he refused the royal crown they were offering him. Maybe what we should be praying tonight is that Jesus will be patient with us in our prayers and our songs as we call on him by the very title that he rejected. If you listen carefully to the gospel, then you might counter and say, Father Fleming, I heard Jesus say his kingdom doesn't belong to this world. It isn't here. So he does have a kingdom, so he must be a king. That's a keen observation. That's yours. Good point. But it all turns on how we understand the word kingdom. If the word kingdom puts us in mind of a particular place, a royal realm, castle or palace, a throne room where sits a sovereign head of state who issues edicts and expects his subjects to obey, that's not the kind of kingdom Jesus has in mind. What Jesus means and what the gospel calls us to is not some place we might get to someday, like heaven, the kingdom of heaven. That's someplace out there. Jesus is talking about the kingdom that is in here. It's to be found in here and among us. It's the kingdom that happens when Jesus breaks into our lives to reign from the throne of our hearts. The best, really the only analogy I can offer for all of this is the experience of falling in love. It takes most of us a while, but sooner or later, most of us learn that we don't fall in love by pursuing, by looking for it, to go out there someplace and get love, find love. What we learn is that love finds us. Love finds us. I fall in love when love breaks into my story, into my time, my interests, my circumstances. When love breaks into my day-to-day activities. I fall in love when love breaks into my heart and begins to change the schedule of my nights and days. Begins to change my preferences, my thinking, my dreams, and my ideas. I fall in love when love begins to filter my thoughts and my feelings, my words and my deeds. When love begins to rule my life from the throne of my heart, and I let it happen. That's when I know I've fallen in love. So it is with the kingdom of Jesus, with the rule and the reign of his love for and over each of us, and over all of us together as his people. We can't go out and look for or find or even build the kingdom of God. Rather, the reign of God's love finds us, comes to us, breaks into our lives, our hearts. His kingdom is established, his reign begins when we submit to him, when we open our hearts to receive the one who, like any genuine lover, desires to be one with us in our hearts and in our lives. The kingdom of Jesus is not of this world. And we will find it and know it only when it breaks into our hearts to rule over our lives and be welcomed We do well then to ask ourselves on this Feast of Christ the King, how might we open our hearts wider to the rule, the reign of Jesus, who's always seeking to enter our lives? One thing we can be sure of is that Jesus will break into our hearts in exactly the precise places where we want to love and be loved. You and I were made by love. We were created by the love of God, and the whole of our life is destined for love that has no end with God. If the reign of God is to break into my life or yours, it will break in precisely at that point where I ache to be loved, where I long to embrace and be embraced, where I know love's intimacy and joy as well as how I am vulnerable to its sorrow and its pain. If we would welcome the reign of God in our lives, we need to open the doors to the most secret places in our hearts. That's the place where Jesus seeks to stake his claim on us. So on this Feast of Christ the King, I might ask myself, which are the doors in my heart that I've tried to keep locked? And how do I need to unlock those doors to welcome Jesus in? It's true, Jesus did not want to be made a king, but he did agree to wear a crown once, and that was a crown of thorns. If I invite the Lord to reign over my life, then I shouldn't be surprised that living under his rule will not always be easy. It will often be difficult. That he will break into my life right where I hurt. And he will break in with balm and with blessing, to mend what's broken and to heal what's wounded in me and in you. On the Feast of Christ the King, then, I might ask myself, what brokenness, what wounds in my life do I need to more fully expose to the healing touch of the reign of Jesus? Though we might prefer the reign of Jesus to images of kingdom and realm, it's clear that Jesus came to save you and me as members of a people chosen as God's own. All his sons and daughters are now our brothers and sisters. You see, a kingdom is a place where people are subject to their sovereign, while a reign is a relationship between a people and their ruler. Jesus doesn't so much invite us to a place as he invites us into a relationship with him and with all who live in his reign. That means to welcome the reign of Jesus breaking into my life is to welcome all his brothers and sisters who will come with him. They all have a home in my heart. The reign of God is never Jesus and me. It is always Jesus and us. So on this Feast of Christ the King, I might ask myself, how open am I to all those who, with the Lord, will break into my life and seek a welcome there when Jesus comes knocking on my door? Jesus revealed his love, his royal love for us, his people, when he was crowned with thorns. And he took the throne of the cross as his seat of power. In his suffering and in his powerlessness, we've been given a place in his reign, a seat at the King's table, this altar, where he breaks into our hearts in the breaking of the bread in the Eucharist. Pray with me tonight that we open our hearts to the one who comes to break into our lives with His mercy, with His love, and with His peace.